Welcome to Purpose of Heart, the podcast, where real stories meet God's promises. I'm Priscilla Allman, and every week we dive into powerful conversations about purpose in the pressure through caregiving, illness, grief, addiction, and more. If you've ever asked, God, where are you in this? You're in the right place. Be sure to follow the show and let's find purpose together. So, hi everyone. Welcome to Purpose of Heart, the podcast. And today we're going to just be talking a little bit about why the podcast came to be in the first place. And just to get to know me a little bit better, I'm here with T. And yeah, we're just going to get started. You're on mute.
Do you want us to start again? I'm so sorry.
It's all good.
Okay. Hi everyone. It's such a pleasure to be on here. Thank you for, inviting me here, and I'm really hoping to have a good time on here. So, let me just start by saying that um I feel like by now everyone should have listened to at least one episode. Um, and if they haven't, please go to our bio and listen to it. Anyways, we just wanted to let you know why this podcast exists and what you can expect, and basically Priscilla's own journey. So let's dive in. So before
Yeah.
we get into the podcast, I just want to, break the ice a little bit. A lot of people, me inclusive, we see the professional side of you. So, let's just, bring it down a little bit. I just want to ask one question. Are you more of a morning person or a night owl, and why?
I am definitely more of a night owl. Um, why?
Mhm.
Honestly, I'm not sure. My mom has theories about it though. She says it's because I was born at um 12, like 15 in the morning or something like that. So she's like, yeah, you're just wired to be up at night. But honestly, I just function better. It's weird and annoying, you know. It is what it is. But yeah, that's the only theory that I have for why that's true.
That's such an interesting theory. That's new. I've never heard of that theory, but I like that. Let me just ask another question. If you could instantly master any skill, like anything at all, what would it be and why?
That's a hard one because there's so many things that it could be. I mean, one thing that would, I guess, ease some frustrations of mine is like if I was a lot better at playing the piano. Um, I spent I started learning the violin when I was a really young kid. And so, like the nitty-gritty dynamics, all of those things, um, and the mechanics of everything, I sort of started out when I was really little. But then when I was older, um, more so like late teenage years, I started piano a little bit. But it was super frustrating because yes, I could read music and like play a little bit, but I didn't have the same like freedom of expression
Hmm.
that came easier with violin just because I had done all of the hard like mechanical work before. And so like I can play the piano, it's just not with the ease and grace that I would want to, and that's definitely frustrating for me. But I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind, when you ask
Yeah,
that. There's probably other things.
of course. There will be other things. Thank you so much. I'm glad we got that out of the way. So now let's talk about podcasts. Purpose of Art podcast. What's first sparked the idea for the podcasts? Can you tell us why Purpose of Art?
Um, so honestly, it was a lot of little things and not
Hmm.
necessarily just like one big thing. Um, I've been creating community around having purpose of heart. And initially the whole just like work as a in its entirety sort of is based off of Daniel 1:8, which says like, but Daniel purposed in his heart that he wouldn't defile himself. And when I was a teenager and reading those words, at that point I thought, wow, that's really something. You know what I mean? Like it was an intentional choice. And it sort of inspired me a bit, but I kind of didn't, that was kind of it. It was just inspiring.
Mhm.
Um, After that, very recently, about a year ago, I wrote a book based off of um, that main verse and premise. But the podcast also comes from the fact that I wanted to share stories of modern day people who had purpose of heart or who have purpose of heart. And so I remember one day speaking to this woman, and she was just, this, I didn't have any sort of podcast or anything, in mind at the time, but she was just talking about how she has a daughter who is disabled. And when she was saying, like, when you're a first time mom, you know, just based off of things that you hear, that, the first year or so is going to be hard because, you have to help them regulate their sleep and all of those kinds of things. But she's like, you go in with that mindset being like, okay, this is a short period of time that maybe I won't get a lot of sleep. Maybe it'll be really hard. But after a certain point, you know that you'll have relief because they will be more independent and take care of themselves. And then she was saying that with her daughter, who was 18 at the time, she's still up all hours of the night with her because, she'll just get up and her sleep wake cycle is just, different. But then she also has sort of like the will and the movement of someone who's older, and how, like, if there's maybe even, she gave the example, like a kid that wakes up, yes, they might wake up in the middle of the night, but they'll still be in their crib. They'll still be like someplace, whereas her daughter might go someplace. And to me, that just sort of highlighted something that I never thought about. Like, yeah, you might be like, oh, well, they might have a different experience or a different type of life. But to actually hear, like, wow, that period that she thought was going to last for a year or two has now lasted 18 years and is still, currently going. Um, and just saying, like, you might look at someone and be like, oh, wow, they're always late, or, whatever it is, but not really realizing what their life is like and what they go through. And so I know that a lot of people who have just like different life circumstances, regardless of what it is, whether it's like illness or um, death or grief or anything, there's different communities that are established for those things separately, but most of the time I feel like those things are shared within those communities, and that's wonderful because it's a safe place, and it's also great for just like community building. But I also feel like maybe if you don't have that, you might not necessarily know. And so that's kind of the very long-winded way of saying I want to like be able to amplify, you know, the voices of everyday people so that we could maybe just learn a little bit more about each other, find community, and also maybe have more compassion for each other.
Wow, that was very detailed, and I think and I think it's very thoughtful. I I learned a lot because honestly, you don't know what people are going through. Like so many people just show up, you think everything is all right with them, but deep down, they might be dealing with something they can't even say out loud. So I think this is really powerful. Thank you so much. So I know that Purpose of Art, the devotional, is already like a brand. So we have Purpose of Art devotional. So how does this podcast fit into that bigger mission?
Hmm. I guess part of it is the overall goal and mission for strong individuals and families for the Lord. Um, One thing that, has been on my mind and my heart lately is that, you know, we should be who we say we are and live as examples of what we say we believe. And yes, life gets hard. And that's an aspect of why I created some of these, materials and things like that, because we all need encouragement to move forward. And, being able to know from someone else how they got through something, what scriptures encouraged them, how God showed up for them is encouraging. But overall, you know, mostly I think it'd be such a blessing if we all were like really accountable and lived authentic Christian lives.
Okay. Thank you so much. I have one more question. Okay. I mean, that's not the end, but let me just chip in. If you had to describe the heart of this podcast in 3 words, what would they be?
Hmm. One, connection.
Okay.
Two would be purpose. And three would be legacy.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Those are really deep. So what kind of stories can listeners expect to hear? Will it just be interviews, personal reflections, or like a mix of everything?
So, what's in store is actually going to be a mix of a whole lot of different things because, why not? Um, what we're going to do is definitely have guests and also some solo episodes as well. And, you know, certain things, that I had wanted to, I guess, I don't know how to say this without it saying sounding weird, but like one of the things that or one of the people that just inspired me in life was my grandmother. She recently passed away, and at the age of 110 months old. And one of the she taught me a lot, and one of the things that she always kept was like um, strong faith in God throughout over 100 years and all of those trials and things that come along with living for that long. And I had, wanted her to, come on and share what that kind of looked like, having purpose for 100 years. Because I think that you really do have to have some sort of mindset or vision in order to stay steady for that long of a time period.
Course.
But so that unfortunately, can't happen. But one of the episodes will be of me sharing um, just some lessons from her and also some of her own words that she left behind as well. So that's one that I'm really excited about, actually.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm sure, she has taught you a lot and we can't wait to learn from you as well. So you've hinted at having guests. What qualities do you look for when you invite someone to share their story?
Um, some characteristics that are truly important is that, excuse me, they have a strong like belief system, and also that they are willing to be authentic and vulnerable about, the things that they've been through. And obviously, you know what I mean? You don't have to come and share your whole life story. Like, that's not what this is. But to just be like, this is where I was, this is how God moved. Because that's really through all of this, the bigger picture is to just sort of highlight what it looks like to have God in your life, and how, even though we may have like a lot of things that we go through in this life, um, what it looks like to stay steady and live with Him and depend on Him, and how that sort of changes your life. And so, those things, amongst others, is really what's important to me, is to make sure that we highlight the impact that God had, you know, on their life.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. This, take it a little bit personal, okay? Um,
Okay.
so how has your own faith journey, how has it shaped the way you approach this podcast?
Hmm. Um, I mean, to be honest, I think that my own journey has made me more willing to have a podcast, but also uniquely like equipped me in an interesting
Mm,
type of way, because there are things that I've had to stay steady in or have purpose in. And like, even things recently as this week,
mm,
um, that has been like, if I didn't push through and have that faith as a mustard seed, or just like trust in Him, even though everything was looking like it's going in the wrong direction, I wouldn't have, I wouldn't be where I am. And
mm.
so, yeah, it's more so just now of telling the story, um, and sort of documenting how he's worked in my life.
Okay, amazing. So I know that starting a podcast is not a very easy feat, okay? So what has surprised you most about the process so far? Are there any funny or unexpected moments when you were recording the first few episodes?
Um, Honestly, just getting my life together has been the most unexpected part of it all. But yeah, it's not easy. I've been blessed to be able to get some direction, which truly just helps all of the things that you may not even think that you need to have. Um, but yeah, mostly it's just me being able to like work the technology, or like work the things, and like set everything up. That's been like a little bit of a challenge, but we're
Right.
here now, so.
Yes, we are. Okay, so what, another question is, do you have like a routine that you always do that helps you, center? I know some people practice like this whole breathing, take a breath for like 3 seconds, do. So, what do you do that helps you, just be in the groove and all of that?
Um, I would say that the most important thing that I do before is just kind of pray that, whatever's said, would be helpful and useful and, not like crazy or, inflammatory or something weird. And then just that, it would be a good session that, whatever the other person, like my guests are coming on to share, like they would be able to articulate that the way they want it to. And then, when I'm the one, asking the questions, that I would do so also in a way that's, works out well. Um, so that, and then also just like have like a hype playlist as well.
Love that.
And
Love
like my affirmations. And then we just do the thing.
Amazing, beautiful. Uh, so what impact do you hope each episode will have on people who listen?
Um, I hope that overall, um, people just hear one, something interesting, two, they have like an opened perspective or like learn something about, whatever. And that, overall, that it would make like a lasting impression and change that they would then, see themselves maybe in some of the people to say, well, if this person did it and made it on the other side, like I can do it too. So they're encouraged and, you know, feeling better because life is hard. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, life is hard. Like it's no joke. And so I really want people to be able to find community that, the conversations had are like they're talking or they're listening to their friends and not like, such a huge divide. Um, but most importantly, that, he's glorified.
All right, that's really nice. So a year from now, when you look back, how will you know that the podcast is fulfilling its purpose beyond just numbers and all of that? What would, give you that conviction that you are actually where you want to be? You're doing what you want to do. You're doing what God called you to do.
I guess I could answer that in two ways. Um, One is that I guess tangibly for me to see, like if the podcast is having impact would be just from, what people are saying about it or like the feedback gotten. Um, and not just like about reviews, but you know what I mean? To actually be like, oh, well, this encouraged me or, something like that along those lines. And then I guess on a personal note, I would say that one thing that has helped me in like the weirdest way is even like on my social media, like just like the post, like sometimes they're reminders to me, even though like I'm in the videos, they're reminders to me. Sometimes like I'll be going and doing something and then, like be like, oh yeah, I believe this. And not that I forget, but like that it's a reminder even when things are tough. And so um I think that if I'm also affected by my guests and things like that, and that I also learn um a year from now and I'm a different and better person because of it, I'll that will be, you know, a good sign.
Yes. All right. Finally, this is a final question.
Okay.
How can listeners be part of the purpose of our community and keep the conversation going after each episode?
So we are on all of the major podcast distribution channels. So you can find us there. And then also we have just all of the social media platforms as well. So all of the places basically. If you look up Purpose of Heart or Purpose of Heart podcast, you'll find us there.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your heart today with us. Um, you know what? I'll let you close.
Well, thank you, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this episode on Purpose of Heart, the podcast, and we hope to see you again sometime soon. Let's have purpose together.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Purpose of Heart, the podcast at www.purposeofheartpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. There's so much more God is doing, and I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you in advance for the reviews and shares. They help this message reach more hearts. I can't wait to walk with you again in next week's episode. See you there.